Hi everybody, meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Welcome to tonight's YouTube show, running a little late for obvious reasons with really another incredible round of severe weather. This, I think, is the fourth severe weather outbreak that we've had since mid-June, and they have all been remarkably similar. And if you remember how I always say, things don't repeat exactly, but in weather patterns, they do tend to rhyme, and this definitely rhymes with the others. All of this, by the way, is totally related to the fact that we have this blocking pattern up in the North Atlantic and over Greenland, the kind of blocking pattern that if it was in the winter, you snow lovers would be salivating over. And as a result, the jet stream is suppressed. The Canadian jet stream is suppressed further to the south than it otherwise would be. We keep getting these shortwave troughs that move right along, and as you get the stronger ones to come through, you wind up with a situation like we had tonight, and is still going on, actually. I'm going to bring up, I actually loaded the radars about an hour ago because I wanted to, at the very least, give you a good sense of how strong these storms were. We had one confirmed EF0 tornado, and that was in Springfield, New Jersey. There was actual video of this, and I'm sure if it's easy to find on Google or on YouTube. It was definitely an EF0, but it actually did cause some damage. The wind gusts of 60 to 70 miles an hour, and you could clearly see a funnel. It touches down and then pulls right back up very, very quickly. We've had a ton of severe thunderstorm warnings that went up today from the northern mid-Atlantic all the way up to about New York City. The northern part of it kind of weakened a bit, so there were some strong cells that moved through parts of Connecticut, and we have that in Massachusetts. And this loop, right, by the way, ends at just checking the last time. So this was the last frame on this was at 6:30 this evening. And you can see the snaking line of storms that formed from western Long Island and then turned west-southwestward into central New Jersey, and then turned south-southwestward down along the New Jersey-Pennsylvania state line going south into Delaware. It was a pretty impressive line of storms. The rainfall amounts from these today, from some of these storms today, were excessive. Old Bridge, New Jersey, 4 inches of rain in about an hour and a half. And by the way, it played out very well in terms of the renegade thunderstorms, what I call the renegade thunderstorms. Those are storms that formed well ahead of the main line of storms, and they certainly did their job. During the mid-afternoon hours, there were a number of severe thunderstorm warnings up in northern New Jersey, and then you had the second line form in eastern Pennsylvania. Then it swung around, and now we're seeing that play out. Now here's the latest picture. You're starting to see fewer reds showing up, and I have the radar. This one goes out to 7:30. So I'm looking at a current radar, and a lot of those storms on the southern flank of this have actually weakened quite a bit, but there's also some more heavy rain going on in parts of western New Jersey, and even a few lightning strikes back up in the area that's in that yellow. So you are going to see continuing flood issues. There are flash flood warnings up all over the place with this. And in fact, I just have to do something really quick. I want to just double check in terms of seeing what the latest warnings are. And it looks like they've extended something here. They've got the severe thunderstorm warning for Monmouth and Ocean counties continuing till 8:30. Flash flood warnings up for many of the counties in central and going up to through the northeastern part of the state and the counties surrounding New York City. The local radars were very interesting on these loops, and you can see the heavy storms actually made it through into Long Island, into Nassau and western Suffolk, and you can see the storms up through Connecticut and in through parts of Massachusetts. Here's the look from the Fort Dix radar from earlier, and I'm going to Again, this is at about the peak intensity with the storms that came through this evening. And of course, there were those renegade storms, and some of them were really quite powerful. And now I've just freshened up the loop so that the last one here is from 7:40 Eastern Time. So obviously, folks, if you're watching this on a replay, all of this is dated. So you want to make sure you get your latest weather information as far as the severe weather is concerned by going to weather.gov and going to your local National Weather Service office. The yellow boxes all working either special marine or severe thunderstorm warnings, and then you've got the green boxes where you're seeing the flash flood warnings that are continuing this evening. Just a really crazy busy night for sure. And the upper trough just kind of did the whole thing, just took over today as it swung eastward. When you see a strong short wave, it doesn't always work that way, but in an instance like today where you had ample daytime heating, by the way, it was the sun broke out this morning. We had clouds this morning and actually even had some downpours roll through in some areas. And then the sun came out and it just went to work. Now here's a U.S. satellite loop, and you can see the blow up of the cloud cover in the northeast down into coastal Virginia and North Carolina. You're also seeing, by the way, if you look upstream to the northwest, is the next short wave in that northwest flow, and that's going to be coming in late tomorrow. There is going to be a bit of a difference tomorrow. The atmosphere will probably not be nearly as ripe as it was today for the picking. It'll have less to work with. So while I think it will probably produce severe weather possibilities in parts of Ohio and into the western half of Pennsylvania, I don't think we're going to have to worry about those storms here. I'm trying to find the severe weather risk map for the remainder of this evening, and you can see it here. And the other thing that SPC did, you can see what's left of the severe thunderstorm watches, a little bit left in coastal North Carolina. Still have them running up through New Jersey, from Delaware actually, the Delmarva Peninsula, all the way up in through New England, because those thunderstorms are still working their way through. You've got marginal to slight risk, by the way, also in the upper Midwest. That's with the next short wave, and of course you've got also a slight risk running from northern Mississippi northwestward up into Kansas and in parts of southern Nebraska. So certainly a very busy day as far as SPC goes. And I'm just going to bring up their risk map for tomorrow, and I'll bring it up on the screen. Just give me 1 second here. Okay, and this is what it's going to look like for Thursday. By the way, I almost got on late. Don't tell me I lost my visual again. Where am I? Oh, there I am. Okay, I had trouble with my video camera, so I wasn't able to, finally figured out what was wrong. But anyway, here's our SPC view for tomorrow, which is for a slight risk in western PA, and that also runs up into a small portion of southwestern New York, back through much of Ohio, and into a small portion of Indiana. So that'll be the extent of the severe weather for tomorrow. Okay, where's that national radar view? I did bring it up. All right, hang on, let me bring up the U.S. radar now. Sorry, folks, it's been kind of a crazy night, so just bear with me. Here's the full U.S. view. You've got some rain showers and some thunderstorms clear up into western Maine through upstate New York, running right down along the immediate coast, and then that line thins out, a little thin but intense line of storms now moving through eastern North Carolina. And you can see it here on the tight shot, those storms there on the southern end of this weather front. And now you've got that other area of risk that we told you about from northwest Mississippi on up into Kansas. So you can see the storms that are going on there this evening, and the area of risk that's up in the upper Midwest, where you've got some strong storms moving across much of northern and northeastern Wisconsin, and then out east of Green Bay, out over into Lake Michigan. So very, very busy indeed. All right, the good news, and there is good news with all of this, is that hopefully this actually will probably be at least for my neck of the woods, the last round of severe weather for at least a while. And that's because you've got this first front that's coming through now. Here's the second one that approaches for tomorrow night, and it's actually fairly weak. And if you look closely on this map, you'll notice the kinks in the isobars going all the way back up into Canada, north of Lake Superior. There are little troughs that are moving through that we're going to have to look at to a small extent here. It's not going to be any big deal. But we've got this front that's for Thursday. Again, not much to work with, so you're more than likely going to see only a pop-up shower or storm for the folks that are in my area, eastern PA to southern New England, and where you see the the rain totals that are showing up in Pennsylvania and back over into Ohio. So that's in response to the severe weather that's showing up for tomorrow in the risk zone. There's actually another upper air trough behind that is moving southeastward. And then on Friday, we start to bring in some lower humidity, and we'll have a mix of sun and clouds at 1017 high in Iowa. Brings down some nice dry air for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's a little energy swinging down from eastern Canada, so there may be some patchy clouds from time to time, but I think this is going to be a very, very nice weekend. And this frontal boundary, by the way, gets all the way down into North Carolina, where you see that low, that 10-12 low on the South Carolina-Georgia border. The frontal boundary gets off the North Carolina coast and then swings back inland and goes northwest into that 1004 low that's in the Oklahoma panhandle. So this is a fairly decent push of air. And then you've got another front that's coming in for Monday, and there's another high that comes down into Lake Superior for Monday afternoon, Monday night, and Tuesday. And actually, this one, it might get, we'll call it quote unquote cool, where you might have spots here on Tuesday where temperatures don't get out of the 70s. Maybe a large portion of the area from eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England might have a tough time getting back to 80 with some sunshine. And then we've got the next frontal boundary, the next low that's going to be coming eastward. If a low goes by to our north, it could be a warm front, cold front combination, and maybe it sets us up for some severe weather possibilities here for the middle of next week. And if you look at it, it doesn't look all that different from what we've been experiencing. And then that goes out, and then you've got another little weaker high coming in for the end of next week and going into next weekend. So you get the idea, folks. There really isn't much of a change in the overall pattern here going forward, and we'll take a look at the upper air jet stream, and then we're going to go look at the tropics, because there are a few interesting things going on in other parts of the world. But here we have, of course, this week we've got this strengthening trough in the east. We get our shot of nice dry air for this weekend, and then another shot with this upper low. You see how this next upper low comes in right behind it across Lake Winnipeg and Hudson Bay, and then on up into Labrador. So that's going to bring in that shot of air for Monday into Tuesday. And then you're still seeing an upper low in James Bay here later next week. So there's still a flow, a fast flow out of Canada. Look at those westerlies. I mean, they run pretty much from the Dakotas across the mid-Atlantic states and then straight out into the open waters of the Atlantic. You've got this east-west ridge in the Atlantic that runs from the Canary Islands all the way westward to off the Florida coast, but it's flat. It's not pushed all the way up. It's just kind of a narrow ridge, and that just stays there. The westerlies still getting dropping into the east. And the models continue to try to indicate in the long range that something may try and drop into the west, but you wonder how much success it's going to have. And taking it through the whole forecast period, you still have this flow out of Canada that is doing quite well. There also seems to be a little bit of GFS fantasy with something developing in the Caribbean here. I didn't look at the surface map, and going into the Gulf of the Western Gulf of Mexico toward the end of the forecast period. And believe it or not, the last day in this run is August 23rd. Okay, so that's then we're talking about the start of the last week of the month of August, and we're already at August 7th. So when I tell you the time moves right along, it certainly does. I just want to show you really fast the dew point relief, the humidity relief that we're going to get come this weekend. And of course, today with our severe weather, we had these dew points that went up into the 70s. Tomorrow's dew points are actually going to be a shade lower than today, mostly low and middle 60s. So that's one of the reasons why I think this next front doesn't have a whole lot to play with. And then here we go for Friday. We start to see those dew points drop down into the 50s. Friday night into Saturday morning, those 50 dew points make it all the way down to the North Carolina-Virginia line. And a beautiful day here on Saturday. Dew points between 50 and 55, and temperatures mostly in the upper 70s and lower 80s. And by the way, that would probably translate for everybody from Northeast Virginia on up into New England. And Sunday, we're going to still hold on to dew points in the 50s. They are going to come up a little bit. They really come up a bit more on Monday ahead of the next cold front. And then look at this push of dew point relief. 40s dew points down to the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. And another push of dry air that makes it almost down to the Virginia-Carolina border. And then it bounces back up toward Wednesday, where we've got these dew points up into the 70s. That's with that low that the GFS is taking to our north. So if it continues to show that sort of consistency, it might be telegraphing another round of another severe weather episode a week from today. Okay, here's the tropical Atlantic, which is not really that much different than what we saw yesterday. We still have the same issues: weak tropical waves, upper troughs. We've got wind shear going on and a little bit of Saharan dust out there as well. So at the moment, there's nothing here that looks remotely close to becoming a tropical depression, let alone a tropical storm. So it still looks quiet for the next several days, and perhaps even a bit more than that. But we do have action in the Western Pacific. We have two typhoons. The one that's furthest to the right is Krosa, Krosa, and the other one, I believe, is Lekima. Okay, and Lekima is headed. Lekima is the stronger of the two. Top winds at the moment, 110 knots, and forecast to go to 125 knots with gusts to 150. So it's forecast to get to at least a strong Category 4. It's tracking it into the South China Sea and then turning it northward, taking the center very, very close to the big Chinese city of Shanghai, where when you look at the points here, the point that is where it's just south of Shanghai at 18Z on the 10th, winds of 85 knots gusting to 105. And when you get to the next point, it's down to 60 knots. So Shanghai probably will experience hurricane or near hurricane force winds with this when it goes by in a couple of days. This is forecast again for 18Z on the 10th. Meanwhile, the other typhoon, Krosa, top winds here are 80 miles an hour. This is actually forecast it's moving northwestward towards southern Japan, but it is forecast to recurve out into the through the Northwest Pacific, and eventually just kind of gets absorbed by whatever's going on up in the Aleutians. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because sometimes these typhoons, if there's some kind of upper low in the Aleutians or in the Gulf of Alaska, they can energize those upper lows a bit, and they wind up having impact on the overall pattern downstream. And actually saw that happen in a big way back in January of 2015. We had a typhoon that recurved into an upper low that was up in the Gulf of Alaska, and it strengthened that upper low to the point that it drove the entire downstream pattern into the eastern United States. And it wasn't the sole reason, but it did have an impact on the very, very cold pattern that developed in mid to late January and lasted right through the month of March. It was one incredibly cold stretch of weather that we experienced in the Northeast and in the northern mid-Atlantic states back in February and March of 2015. So it's doing something somewhere. Even the West Pacific has been kind of quiet, but it just kind of suddenly exploded in the last week to 10 days or so. And I think you're going to at some point see the Atlantic do something similar, where you're going to see the system. Suddenly you'll wake up one day and there'll be a couple of tropical cyclones on the map. The WPC, by the way, just switching gears, in terms of 7-day rainfall, much of what's in the east is convectively driven, so you've got some pockets that are showing up to a couple of inches, other pockets showing far less, and of course I think much of this is from 8 o'clock tonight on, so we're talking a lot of the stuff that you're seeing here is front-end loaded. Rainfall a little bit less over the next 7 days over Florida. It's lessened a bit. Still got that bullseye, but it's a little smaller in parts of southwestern Missouri, eastern Kansas, northeastern Oklahoma, northwestern Arkansas, north and west up into Nebraska. Another little bullseye area up in the Dakotas. Dry into California. Little action down in the southwestern U.S. Okay, I don't want to lose my video again, my video source again. So I'm trying to be extra cautious here. I don't know why it disappeared in the first place. But let's come to the chat board tonight. Got a nice little crowd on board. So Scott Briller pointing out that if it doesn't get out of the 70s on Tuesday, it's a great time to mention that starting Saturday, August 10th, the daytime highs do start to drop. That's correct. Takes a little longer for the nighttime lows to start dropping, but eventually they do play catch up. Yeah, we're past. We're now just about. In fact, I think today, Joe Rayo, I think it's today is the halfway point between the summer solstice and the autumnal equinox. So happy halfway day to everybody, and this is now the downhill half. As we go ahead. Izzy D, rainfall rates indicated by your weather station, 1 inch per hour, so 4.87, including the storm that we got through midday. We got 0.17 from that. Some of those folks in Izzy in Jersey that got into the heart of some of those thunderstorms, so 3 inches plus was happening with some of those storms. Old Bridge, New Jersey, got 4 inches. Just want to take a look. Hang on, I'm just going to switch over. I want to take a look at the latest radar off to the side. I even got a little thunder and lightning at my house. Still getting some lightning strikes in Suffolk County. Yippee! The Long Island thunderstorm freaks have been so frustrated. They've actually gotten to see a few this season, unlike the past couple of years. But these held together through Nassau. And there's actually a pretty strong cell now in southwestern Suffolk County, although we don't have any kind of warning. And Izzy's not feeling great. Okay, sorry to hear that, pal. Shelly Man Studios is on. OKAG on tonight. David Schwartz. Looks like the GFS is springing. Yeah, there is a system, David, on the Pacific side. But it's not going to have any real consequence on anyone, so I really didn't even give that a look. Lisa Nieves, I don't know what's going on. It's probably the thunderstorms are impacting your signal that you keep losing me. But you're gonna have to watch it on the replay. Let's see. What will the humidity be like the rest of the week? Well, we're drying out a little bit tomorrow, but really Friday's the big day. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are going to be great. Turns more humid a little bit on Monday, and then it turns really nice and dry for next Tuesday when we get that secondary shot, and then we set up for maybe another chance for severe weather a week from today. All right, folks, coming up on 8:10. So I think I'm going to cut it short at here. There's not a whole lot happening other than what we went through, and I'm tired. I'm doing TV, so I'm having to break in with some of these thunderstorms and getting crawls up to run along the bottom of the screen. It's tough. So thanks, of course, for being here as always. A number of you are here every night, and that's just terrific to see. And I'm excited because you guys are all really into weather, and that is just great. Now, if you're really super into weather, and many of our regulars here are on Patreon, but if you're new and you aren't on, you might consider it. It's just $2 a month. And by the way, that $2 goes a long way to support my free weather app, which is available on all mobile devices. And if you haven't downloaded it yet, I'm going to put the link up so that you can get to the downloads to both the App Store and to Google Play. Just a moment. The thing is, if you have if you're on Android, if you have an Android device, you'll get an updated version where you no longer have to put in your location every time. You don't have to put in your location every time you go on it on the local page or the local tab to get your current information. It will automatically default. Now that update has been pushed to the iPhone, but Apple is notoriously slow with regards to pushing their updates out. So we're kind of waiting for them. So hopefully it'll be any day now, and you'll get that update too. Plus for Long Islanders, there's a Long Island tab that I've had it. So you've got the Patreon link, and now you've got the app link. And thank you to Dave. Thank you, David Fuller. Appreciate that you are a member. So is Lisa Nieves is a member too. And I kid around about the fact that's just sort of semi-kid around that I get myself a couple of cigars and a few fishing lures to relax with. But you know what? It's a lot of work, and I love doing it. And I appreciate that some of you have contributed, and thank you so much. And by the way, there's one other way. For those of you who shop on Amazon, this is a very easy way. You can use my direct link to Amazon. It's on the descriptor to this live stream or the descriptor to this video if you are okay AG. I will address what you just said in a second. So if you shop on Amazon, you can use my Amazon link. It doesn't cost you anything. Just search on the search bar there and buy whatever it is you're going to buy, and Amazon throws me back a little bit of coin as thanks. And we're a participant in the Amazon Services LLC Associates Program, which is an affiliate advertising program designed to provide a means for us to earn fees by linking to Amazon.com and its affiliated site. Okie AG, I still can't get apps on my rotary phone, nor can I find the screen on it. I imagine that is the case. I have this theory, and I haven't gotten to this point, but I'm getting very close to it. At least I feel like at times I'm getting close to it. But I think, and this goes back to something with my father, who, if it was invented after the wheel, he really wanted no part of it. I mean, he wanted absolutely no part of technology in any way, shape, or form. Just absolutely refused to learn anything with regards to that. And I think what happens is you get to a certain point in your life where you just reach a point where your brain is full. You don't want to learn anything new. It hurts to think, and you just you're just comfortable where everything is now. And I've always tried to be, at least from my age group, I would consider myself ahead of the curve when it comes to a lot of tech stuff. But even now, I'm starting to get a bit pushed to the limit with some of the things with what's on the smartphones. But on the other hand, if you're going to have an app, and if you're going to have websites, and if you're going to post on social media, it's probably a smart thing to stay on top of the latest technology, or if not the latest technology, stay reasonably close by. Either that, or find someone, or have someone handy that really knows his stuff and can help you out when you get stuck in those little technology spots where you feel that there is absolutely no escape from. So I get it. Okay, I get the rotary phone thing. Totally get it. All right, folks, have a great evening. Please stay safe in whatever severe weather is left to play out. And we will, of course, see you here tomorrow. Hopefully, tomorrow's live stream will probably be at 6 o'clock Eastern time, because I have something to do at 7. So we will have the live stream tomorrow night a little bit earlier, 6 o'clock Eastern time. Good night.